What is your never thought it would happen to me experience? Father having an affair. Drove 8 hours for a job interview, only to realize that I had PM and am mixed up, so I missed the interview by 12 hours. Cried my whole way back home. Went to my first club, 16 to 21 year old allowed, on senior week about 2 weeks after turning 18. Met a girl who actually seemed into me. We left and ended up having sex on the beach. Turns out she was 14 and lied to me when I asked her earlier, even showing me a fake ID. That didn't matter to the police, of course. A while back, dated a guy for nearly a year before finding out he was actually living with his real girlfriend of 8-ish years. As soon as I found out, I introduced myself and told her, crying. She just shrugs her shoulders and rolls her eyes, didn't care at all. It was surreal. Fathering a disabled child. As devastating as it is to find out your kid is disabled, it is crazy how it stops being about how it would impact your life and it shifts entirely to how it will impact their future. At least that is how it was for me. Having to go through my dead friend's apartment after he committed suicide. Thanks for sharing your stories. Suicide is so hard because unlike a more natural death, the person doing it just decides to leave everyone. The feelings of rejection and abandonment are hard to deal with. For me it happened last year also. 3 weeks before my college graduation. He had a year left. I even had a seat saved for him for my ceremony. Instead of studying for my exams, I spent the weekend packing the things his family didn't pack. I remember sitting on his ugly plaid couch for the last time. Everything about his death was surreal. He hadn't spoken to his family in years. His fiancée had been having an affair and was pregnant with his younger brother's baby. As Josh was being lowered into the ground, they were making out in the cemetery. His family buried him in a casket from Momets, and seeing him in it was awful. The mortician's job was botched. You could see formaldehyde leaking from his eyes. It was scary and made my heart ache even more that he didn't have a proper funeral. His mother asked me for recent pictures of him because she hadn't seen him in 5 years. I had a lot of photos and none of them had been used. They only showed pictures of him up until the age of 22. He was 30 when he died. Getting caught cheating on a huge test. You never think you'll get caught cheating if you cheat. You're always supposed to be afraid of getting caught cheating, but because you take those precautions to not get caught, you never actually think it's going to happen. Be honest, if you got caught you wouldn't even know what to do. You would have an idea, but the minute it happens, you can bet your ass that you will stumble your words together, unless you're a certified pathological liar. God forbid it's the SATs or some other state/national test. The odds are against you too. Once they suspect you of cheating, there isn't shit you can say against it besides no, I didn't. And at that moment, you proceed to shit your pants and wait for their verdict on whether or not you should continue your life. 6th grade was fucking rough, man. I was walking in downtown Montreal a few weeks back and someone came up to me on the street and asked if I wanted to buy any drugs. As a kid growing up, I was led to believe this would happen all the time, but this was the first. I never thought I would have a completely healthy and normal pregnancy and then have to deliver a stillborn. I can honestly say that the silence is deafening when you've spent your life expecting to hear your baby cry. Realizing someone I love was part of a shooting. Watch the news for hours. Shooting in mall. Hey, isn't that where my sister's name works? Is she working today? 3 dead, 1 expected to be the shooter. Oh well, there's hundreds of people in the mall at any time. Just wonder why she hasn't called us yet. Shooting took place around food court. She works near the food. Cold been anyone though, who knows? Here's pictures of bullet-riddled walls and witness reports. Wow, this is on every news station. It's been a few hours. Where is she? Upper level food court. Oh shit. Oh shit, the only stores up there are hers and some kids shops. No one with a sane mind could kill kids. But he wasn't sane, obviously. You're awful. You're wishing little kids were dead instead of your sister. Every person would, wouldn't they? Takes place in store she works at. Popular store, could be lots of people there. 1 female, 2 male. 1 expected shooter. She works in there. She's a female. Female, early 20s, white. Expected to work as at store. That's her exact description. But lots of girls look like that who work there. Then the phone rings. Dropped my phone in a goddamn toilet. It happened last summer. I had that iPhone 4 for 3 years before it finally fell into the water abyss and died. I then finally upgraded to the 5s, which was thankfully half price from the Verizon upgrade price because of the iPhone 6 release. I used to make fun of people who dropped their phones in toilets. I still do, but I used to too. I have a positive one. Graduating high school and college without being on an admed. I had it drilled into me by my mother and psychologists as a child that I'd never be able to get through high school, let alone college, without being on medication. I'll admit, my grades could be better, but I'm a 3L in law school, and while school has been hard, I never have to feel trapped inside my own mind, and all my success has been my own. A girl that asked me out. So surprised and didn't know what to do. Turned out, we weren't compatible, and I'm alone again. +1 to life experiences. I was a criminal justice major in college, and then one night I went to jail while tripping on mushrooms and my teacher drove me to jail. A friend of mine, who I had known for half of my life, 14 years, was also my roommate. We are also old army pals. He's very dependent on having a GF, so when he starts dating a new girl, everything else ceases to be important. He's always been this way. A couple of months ago, we are still roommates, but he has stopped communicating with me slowly over the course of a couple of weeks and starts to sleep over at his GF's house more and more often. I go on a trip to Muscle Shoals, with my dad on a Friday and return Sunday evening. It was hot as hell, so I go to my friend's room to see if he might have an extra fan I could borrow. I open his door and all of his stuff is gone. He waited till I was gone for the weekend and skipped out on the lease, and all without saying a word to me. He could have just told me he was moving out, but he just left me holding the bag after avoiding me for a couple of weeks. I thought I had done something wrong, but after thinking about it and talking to our other friends, who he also bailed on and wasn't speaking to, I realized that he must have some serious emotional problem with latching onto women and feels that everyone else can fuck off when he has a GF. I just hope he's doing alright and everything works out for him. Turning out gay. Now, granted, for 10 or 11 of those years before it happened, I didn't really even have a concept of what gay was. For that span of time, I never thought it would happen to me, because I never thought it. But between me learning the concept and me finding out that that was me, I didn't really ever think it would happen. Coming out to myself was a gloriously horrible shit show. Up to that point, I was perfectly fine with and supportive of other people who were gay. I didn't see a reason why I shouldn't be, considering that their personal lives weren't any of my business. But when I realized I liked guys, that was my business, and I didn't want any of it. I'd always wanted to grow up normal and get married and have kids of my own and not worrying about having to fight for every inch of progress in my life. I mean, I was a middle-class white boy, the jackpot combination of Western society, who would seriously trade that in. Keep in mind that this was my thought process when I was 14 or 15. I've long since come to my senses. Brett the Hitman Hart gave me his sunglasses as a kid when he came to my town. Stands to this day as best moment of my life. Becoming a smoker. Doing drugs. Being diagnosed with a mental illness. Realizing I'm bisexual. Failing uni a couple of times. My picture being randomly taken from Google Image, horribly photoshopped to make me bald, and used for an ad for a shitty hair product in Congo. Someone from there recognized my face on the ad, because I have a popular blog, SMH. Becoming widow at 25. 3 years this late October. Miss her every day. She got sick, and lead up to having heart failure. She got a ride home from work. I had to drop off a co-worker whose car broken down. Would have been the one to pick her up. Someone didn't see her until too much time passed. Gonna get buried, but losing my home and everything I owned in a fire. It happened right before Thanksgiving last year. Still haven't really recovered financially or emotionally. Being in a long distance relationship. I always thought people who did it were insane or even desperate. Turns out you can have every option in the world and still only want the one person who lives far away from you. I never thought I would be a rape survivor. I knew him. We were dating. There were red flags, in hindsight, but I was certain I could handle myself. After all, I'd been in martial arts for 7 years. I was a black belt. I knew Jiu-Jitsu. If I cared to keep at it, I could have been a female MMA fighter. Nothing prepares you for that moment, though, when you say no, stop and that hurts, stop and he just ignores you, holds you down and keeps going, laughs afterwards and says you wanted it, don't pretend like you didn't. Nothing prepares you for the feeling of betrayal and worthlessness, guilt and shame. Nothing prepares you for the moment when you're sitting in your dorm room wondering if the police would even believe you if you called them, knowing that it's your word against his and there's no evidence. Feeling angry with yourself for being traumatized when, objectively, what happened to you wasn't even that bad. Having a panic attack years later because a partner holds you down during sex. Nothing can possibly prepare you for what a viscerally shameful experience rape is. I won a new bike in 2nd grade during a raffle. I remember I was walking out of school when I heard my name on the intercom saying I won. Holy shit, what a day that was. Right before the Christmas holiday too. Just the dark turn my teen years took. The self-injury, the inner age hospitalizations. It's like living in a post-apocalyptic world. I sometimes think back to when I was little. I know that version of me never would have thought this is who I would become. I really let that little kid down. I used to be so sure of who I was, what I would do, where I was going. Everyone always said I was smart and that I looked like I had it together. But the truth is, I haven't been that right since I was 6. My parents divorced, and nobody really knows what that does to a kid who is quiet and out of the way. I lost my confidence. I wasn't as good as before. I had to fake it. Be someone else at school for attention. After so long at faking, you don't really know who you are anymore. You could be anyone. Your self-image gets all smudged. Anyway, long story short, too late. I know, all of this is on me now. People say the past dies, but it doesn't really. It breathes on my skin. And I have to find a way to move ahead, regardless of what happened. Because it's death to stay behind and to watch everyone else move ahead in life without you. That I would lose a lot of my self-confidence. It's a long story, but I'm currently trying to force myself to become better and believe in myself. I was in high school walking home drunk after a party holding an empty handle of Fireball whiskey. I was stumbling all the home for 2 miles and cars were passing and honking. Drunk as I was, my brain could not figure out what they were trying to tell me. To my luck, a cop turned on his sirens and pulled me to the curb. I sat there laughing my ass off while he called my parents to pick me up. I was once caught having sex in a park with someone I was cheating with. She's the GF of my friend at school. At about 8 in the evening, while we were doing the good old doggy style behind a wall deep inside the park, a guy approached us and handcuffed the both of us immediately. We both literally cried in front of the police guy to set us free by bribing him money and our mobile phones. At first he said, "Son, that's not how it works here. Wait for the police cars and we'll settle these at the station. Also, I may file charges on you for trying to bribe a police officer." After about an hour of negotiation, and after we showed him all of our valuable things and offered it to him as bribe, the fucking truth was revealed. That police guy's not a police. After taking all of our money and phones etc., he made us raise our hands after he removed the handcuffs and made us turn around. After a couple of seconds we were both crying for fear of getting shot from the back, and then the guy just ran away laughing and then yelled, "You lusty motherfuckers got what you deserve. Sex in the park, huh? Fuck, I did get what I deserved for cheating. Never again." I still remember that guy's face. We were both 17 when this happened. I took an accidental overdose and ended up in hospital for about 2/3 days. I had a tooth abscess and it was the most painful thing I've experienced so far. The dentist gave me antibiotics, but they'd take a while to kick in. I was taking ibuprofen, but it wasn't helping, so I started taking it with some paracetamol and it worked. So I carried on doing that, but throughout the day, it started to work less and less, so I was taking them closer together. It got to the point that there was only an hour or two between taking them. The thought crossed my mind that was I taking too many, but I was in too much pain to care. Next day, my mom asks me how I'm feeling. how many tablets I took the day before, and she says I probably took an overdose, but I think nothing of it. A few hours later, and I've been in bed all day being sick, so we head to R&D, where I get admitted, because the levels in my liver are high, and they want to monitor me. My cheek had also become swollen, so there was talks of being transferred to another hospital for surgery. I had 2 doctors check me over, repeatedly asked if I attempted to kill myself, and told I would need to see the psych team, but I was discharged before that happened. I never thought I'd end up in hospital, let alone for something like an overdose. Actually falling in love with someone. I just never understood how can people get so vulnerable and depend on their so that much emotionally.